Training at Wildwood. Come out Thursday, September 12th for a morning training session with Chief John Yar of the Lakewood Fire Department. Chief Yar is the chief of department of the fastest growing and third largest municipality in the state of New Jersey. Come listen to how he is leading his dedicated members of the Lakewood Fire Department as they continue to transition their department to meet the town's growing needs. Scan the QR code on your screen or find them on social media and get registered today. There's plenty of seats still, but going fast. The New Jersey Deputy and Battalion Chiefs Association will be hosting their annual fire service seminar on Saturday, October 5th at the New Jersey City University. This year's speakers will include Chief Vincent Dunn, Chief Aaron Heller, and Chief Anthony Avillo, among many other fine firematic minds. Scan the QR code on your screen or find them on social media and get your tickets today. Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome back to NJ Fire Guys, run number 30 with Chief John Hayowyk retired from City of Passaic, and he's in Sparta. I believe he came up in Roxbury Township. So a little about him. Chief John Hayowyk Jr. has been in the fire service for over 31 years. He recently retired as Battalion Chief of the Passaic City Fire Department. He started his career in the fire service as a volunteer firefighter in Roxbury Township Fire Department. John holds certifications as a fire instructor, fire inspector, and fire official. He is also a fire investigator. Recently, John has joined the Sparta Township Fire Department to continue to serve the community where he lives. He has been a fire service instructor since 1997 and is taught at the Sussex County Public Safety Training Academy since 2002. Chief Hayowyk is also the owner of Beyond the Basics Fire Training. John is humbled to have articles published in Fire Engineering and Firehouse Magazines. He teaches at multiple conferences, both locally and nationally, every year. Without further interruption, introduce Chief John Hayowyk Jr. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I have a habit of butchering people's
names. You got it, though.
All right.
Bro, you knocked it out of the park. Nick, thank you so much for having me on.
No, thank you for taking the time and coming on and doing the show. All right. So really, I've been excited for this.
Me too.
What so tell us where you grew up, where you started, what got you to the fire service?
So I'm a second generation firefighter. My father actually started out as part of the civil defense, the CDs for the City of Passaic, late 60s, early 70s. And then he was in Elmwood Park. And then he got relocated for his job. He was never a career fireman, always a volunteer. So we were out in Kings Park, out in Long Island, for about 10 years. And he joined out there. And I remember going back and forth to the firehouse for drills. And a lot of times we would shoot down during the halftime of the Giants games to finish the rest of the game up at the firehouse. So it was always in my blood. And then we moved back to Roxbury in Morris County. And when I turned 18, I joined. I became an EMT first, actually. I was an EMT when I turned 17, and then joined the fire department when I hit 18. So I hit the ground running and kept moving, and fortunate enough to get hired in the City of Passaic when I turned 25 and rose through the ranks. What a great department the City of Passaic Fire Department is. A lot of character, a lot of tradition, and a lot of work. A lot of work. I don't know. My camera's acting up tonight, so I'm going to apologize when that happens. I'll just keep clicking back on. Yeah, we do catch a little bit of work. Yeah. I was fortunate enough to catch some work as a firefighter. Started out in the engine, then bumped up to the ladder, the tiller, and the tower, which is really sort of my passion, the truck work.
Yeah.
And the tiller, I'll tell you right now, if there's a position to be at and you're never going to promote up, that tiller position is probably one of the best seat in the house going down the street.
That's the one thing in my career I've never gotten to do. The one thing. It's my dying dream.
So it's fun. It's a lot of work. And it's fun to promote. So when I promoted up, I bumped into training the division for a little bit as a lieutenant, and then got reassigned to the tower, and
Okay.
then eventually got promoted to captain, and spent a little more time in the training division, and came back out and was assigned to both. I bounced back and forth between the tower and the tiller on a couple shifts, and then fortunate enough, I got promoted to battalion for the last couple years of my career.
Okay. What year did you come on?
So I got hired October 13th. So Friday, October 13th of 2000. Lucky 13th. I'll tell you right now. Passaic firefighters union's lucky 13. Our union, our officers union's 213. Got hired on the 13th. 13 is my lucky number.
All right. Hey, as long as your badge number wasn't 666.
159.
All right. All right. So what was coming in to the department like back then? Did they have their own academy or?
So yeah, they ran their own academy, which was pretty cool, because coming in at age 25, we got hired. So in 2000, it was the end of a large hiring 25 years prior. So everything is like a wave.
So everybody was getting ready to go.
It was cyclical, So 25 years prior, it was the end of Vietnam, and the Vietnam guys were coming in and getting hired.
Yeah.
So we jumped on. My class was a class of 8, and the class 6 months after us was 16, and then they hired another 10 off the a year or a year and a half later after I got on. So we had a large group coming on, and right now everybody's starting
already quick.
We're aging out right now because everybody's getting ready. Right, we're in 24.
Yeah.
So there was a group before us about 6 to 8 months prior. So like everywhere else, the fire service is very young right now.
It
is very young, and the fortunate part about Passaic was we were fairly steady. We were busy, and being on the truck, I got to go to a couple more fires, because especially if I was on the tower, we were going into Powderson.
Okay.
So we got to play at some of their bigger fires.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you? No, we'll get into that later. But
just lead me down the road.
So now, give us a quick profile of what it was then, or what the city makeup was, and maybe what the department makeup was back then and what it is now.
So when I got hired, I think we were roughly around maybe a little over 100 person department. When I retired, we were back down maybe just on the plus side of 100, but we went up to about 117, and that was right around 2011. And the bottom fell out of the economy. We had to do layoffs. I think we laid off 17 guys, or through attrition and retirement, we laid off 17 guys. We actually had guys got picked up in Orange. Orange did us a solid through the rice bill.
Okay.
So a lot of guys got picked up there, and then eventually they came back. But the department's good. It's a growing department. Started out with some new apparatus, new engines when I got hired. We saw a new tower and a new tiller, and so like everything else, everything ages through, and we have our growing pains at times. Within my first 6 months on the job, on May 9th of 2001, we lost Altorado. That was my first line of duty death experience.
Yeah.
I wasn't working that night, but we got called back in. But again, the class after me, the Sweet 16, they were in the academy, I think, only day 4 of the time, and we did academies in house. So we had a captain that was running it, and we had other instructors that would step in and train us throughout the day and stuff like that. But Passaic's a great little town, old Polish and Ukrainian town. We got the Jewish section uptown. We have it's been a changeover. The demographics have certainly changed. We have a lot of Spanish in the lower and the east side of town, and the west side still has a Jewish section up in the park. but it's just getting packed. So I was fortunate enough to do some grant writing, and I sort of tout that Passaic's only 3.2 square miles. You take 1 square mile out for parks and streets. So in 2.2 square miles, we have roughly
Wow.
100,000 people.
Wow. Wow.
So on paper, the census showed us right around 70, but we were finding out that through we'll call it undocumented. We were finding out through the Board of Ed approximately how many other people we
Yeah.
were having in our city. And at any given time, we had an influx of business on Main Avenue and the mills. So
Wow.
we had a ton of people in our city. Every attic and every basement of every 1 and 2 family dwelling was
Mm.
stacked and backed. Multiple families living in an attic.
Yeah.
You know, when we have a fire in a 2.5 story frame and we're displacing 18 to 20,
Yeah. You can.
you know, in a one family residence, or it used to be a one family. Now they chopped it up to the basement, first floor, second floor, and attic.
Yeah.
So
Were you finding a lot of SROs, single room occupancies, or yeah?
yeah, and that happened a lot with people just trying to make do and get
Yeah.
by.
Yeah.
And that's part of the strategy and tactics we had to develop on the fly, because there's nothing in the books. There's no textbook out there talking about how to deal with that and
Yeah.
forcible entry issues and stretching
That's
and
against
all that
that's
stuff.
against the code. Why would
Well,
I teach
again,
you how why would I teach you how to fight a fire in an uncode compliant house?
so it was good. I worked with some amazing firefighters and some amazing officers coming up, and that's how I was molded and formed. You know, I watched my father as a volunteer throughout my career as a fire in the fire service, and he became a past chief in Roxbury twice, and I was a captain in Roxbury. I did one term, but I learned so much from him. And the cool part about that is he followed me into the instructing part.
Okay.
Uh, so he was the one that got me into the fire service, but I got him into teaching. And my dad's been teaching up at the academy with me for a number of years up in Sussex, and he's been teaching alongside me with Beyond the Basics Fire Training, our training company. And last week we were just down in Pensacola together, and my dad at 75 is still going to conferences, taking notes. He was there
I,
for 3 days
yeah.
of 3 days of lecture. He didn't do the hands-on day, but he was there for the lecture. You know, listening to giants in the fire service like Chief
Yeah.
McGrail from Colorado and Chief Norman from FDNY and Chief Isaacson,
Yeah.
Chief Lieb, you know, from FDNY, and you know, just a ton of guys there. And again, he's there to take the information and bring it back to the guys in Roxbury, because him and I started the training division in Roxbury when I was there,
Okay.
and then he's continued to push forward with that. And again, he just brings the knowledge that he absorbs, and it's inspirational. At 75, I want to still be doing that.
Yeah. As I 75, I still want to be here. I'll be happy
Amen.
with that. So, give us a quick breakdown of Roxbury. What's Roxbury's fire department about? Like,
So Roxbury's all volunteer.
mhm.
3 companies. They have Suckasana Company One, where I was a member for 25 years. And then they had Company Two up in Landing and Company Three. Some specialty units. Roxbury Company One, up until I think last year, was running 2 ladder trucks. So one company with 2 ladder trucks. It was pretty cool.
I'm
So we
down
had
with
a
that.
75-foot straight stick, and they had a 102-foot Simon LTI tower ladder. But before that, they had I'm not sure the make, but it was a telesquirt. So it
Ooh,
was like a 50-foot telesquirt. That was our first
yes,
ladder truck, the Yellowbird, they called it.
yes.
And just some cool stuff. We had an engine that had a giant reel on the back to pick up the 5 inch. Oh yeah.
Those those were dangerous. I remember somebody down Monmouth County used to have one from. I remember it from when I used to test fire hose before I got on the job. Excuse me. And that was the probably the most dangerous truck to pack because none of us knew how to operate it.
It took a while. You actually had to get qualified on that to try and how to figure out how to place it, and placement of the couplings was really important. It was actually, from the story, was they spec'd it out as a 4-inch reel for 4-inch hose, but we
But
threw
then about
5-inch on
5
it.
inch.
Bigger, better, faster, more. For the fire service.
The firemen doing fireman things. What can
Correct.
I tell you?
Absolutely.
So you were still active with them. You were in Suxana company.
Yep.
I just like saying that word.
Suxana, yeah.
I don't know what it means, but
I don't know. I got a meeting for Passaic though.
okay.
If you ever get to Passaic, you got to take a look at the wires that we've got. And I joke about it when I'm talking about truck companies or chauffeur in some of the classes that we teach. And I'm like, listen, I found out what Passaic actually meant in the Indian terms, Native American, and it was land of many wire. Because if you take a look anywhere that you're looking at a ton of wires blocking up the front of almost every building. And post Sandy, they put these high tension wires coming in out of the substation. These poles had to be 80 feet up in the air. So
yeah,
it was nuts with trying to get good placement for either the bucket or the stick to the roof.
I was just gonna say, like, especially with a tower ladder, if you're coming in, like, is there a lot of creative placement, or is there a lot of, hey, leave the truck out on the main road, we're not even, just hump the ladders?
One of the greatest things in the response module for the City of Passaic, and I don't know if it was written down or it's just truck always got out first.
Okay.
So each firehouse we have 2 and 1 in each. So you had 2 engines and a ladder in each station. And the way our box alarms worked was we always ran 3 and 1 on any reported fire, alarm activation, stuff like that. So truck was out first, and then you had the 2 engines coming from the same house, and then you had the 3rd engine coming from the uptown house or the downtown house, whichever side of the city it wasn't on. And if we hit a second, it would automatically brought the additional 1 and 1.
Okay.
Plus started the mutual aid or automatic aid from Clifton and Patterson, and kicked up the they called it crew, and then eventually they got Garfield back on it, so I called it G crew. So it was Carlstadt, Rutherford, East Rutherford, and Wallington, and then you threw Garfield in there.
I like it. So now, I was listening to a fire they had a couple weeks ago, probably about a month or 2 ago now.
Okay. High Street?
I forget the name. Yes.
High Street.
It was on like a weird corner kind of thing.
So it's high in Maine. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to brag a little bit. Jimmy Kovacs. If you want somebody to talk to as a guest,
okay,
get Jimmy on there. Jimmy was a captain for me when I was a battalion.
Okay.
And Jimmy and I, when I retired, I studied with him so he could get promoted. And he came out number 1. He crushed the test. And probably one of the best battalions right now on the job. He was instrumental at the fire that you have on in the background. Our
yes,
our 11 alarm chemical warehouse fire. Jimmy was turned into my water supply officer. He was truthfully 3rd due engine, and I made a quick call on that. We're going defensive on this. It was already through the roof. We had an odor of chlorine. We had a force entry. The security guard already told us nobody was in the building. So
what was that? That was January of 22.
January of 22, correct.
It was Majestic Industries and Qualco pools.
So yep.
I
that
remember
building
it was cold as shit.
I didn't get cold until about 2:00 in the morning when I walked back into my gig to warm up for a little bit. And when I came out, I was already 13 degrees, but that's when I felt the cold. But I'm gonna tell you right now that what a phenomenal stop by these guys. So it's when we first got there, if you can take a look at that top row of windows, that wasn't burning. It wasn't burning there yet. It was all the way in the far side. This came in as a car fire, truthfully, on 21. Oh yeah. It was originally dispatched as a 1 and 1, and the battalion rides on that. So I was up down, and I was making my way. And then the dispatcher, Abe Milan, one of our guys, because we were covering the desk, said he had a structure fire in the area and couldn't place it. And just we made our way there and we found it. That came in around 8 o'clock at night. And
I want to say I was sitting at the firehouse. We were listening to it, and when they started calling for tankers from out of county, we were like, all right, we were shooting odds and evens to see who was going.
It was pretty remarkable. This past week, I was down in Pensacola at the County Fire Tactics Water on the Fire conference, and they honored Mike Champo. They gave him a retirement award, and they brought down. Oh, there's Mike. So that was my last day of work. That was March 31st of 2020.
Oh, okay.
And Mike wasn't going to be able to make it to my to a retirement party. He stopped in for about 2 hours and talked to all the guys. That's my guys from Tour 3. That the Uptown, the West Side guys. So is Jimmy there? No, Jimmy's not there for some reason. Jimmy was downtown at that time because Willie was uptown. They did a little shuffling on me. You know how the admin does it, just loves to change things up.
Of course.
Without reason.
But now, do you have just one battalion chief on duty to cover the city?
So that's our tour commander. Yep.
Okay.
Battalion runs it. So we're fortunate enough, or unfortunate enough, however you want to look at it. We have 4 lieutenants, 2 captains, and a battalion.
Okay.
And then normally we ran driver, officer, and 1. So it was us. It was John Wayne time until we got a lot of people there. But I'm going to tell you right now, for that fire.
Now, how off was that when you guys rolled up? Because you said that came in as a car fire originally.
It was well off by that time.
Yeah.
If you go back to the picture with the tiller, if you're able to pop that up.
Yeah.
So in front of the tiller cab, originally that was under the power lines. They picked the jacks up and drove. We bedded the ladder, drove underneath because I was afraid of the transformers cooking off and the power lines coming down. We put that, but in front of that is the engine 3, which caught the only city hydrant that was left. They hit a dead hydrant or 2 coming in, and then we just started going from there. But this building was about 1.75 acres. That's according to Google Earth because of my mapping skills. And then the building next to it, which is the one that you can see with the shadow on it of the smokestack.
Okay.
That building is a 3-acre facility hosting about 50 tons of chlorine.
Wow.
And guess what? The separation was 20 feet.
Oof.
So Mother Nature was on our side. We had winds from the north, which is where that 3-acre building was. And it was sort of pushing everything across the river into Wallington.
Ooh.
So even better. So we didn't really have to sacrifice any of our apparatus for anything, but Bergen County was handling that stuff. Wallington was going on a ton of alarms. The smoke was ridiculous. We had 3 stories of embers going across. It was, my wife calls that fire my final. That was like my final test when I was studying for battalion and studying for captain, just to be ready for it. And you know what? My guy's going to let me down, and I hope I never let them down, because we just battled and the guys saved it. We had on one side, on our side where we were, I think we had 5 or 6 aerial master streams going, plus a couple deck guns, a blitz fire, a multiversal that was dropped down into the yard. And then on 21, they had 4 aerial master streams going, and I believe 8 engines. So 21, by that time, they already shut down operations in that picture. Yeah. But at the height of it, they used 8 engines on that side. And on our side, where we're still operating, we had, I believe, 12 to flow everything.
Wow.
Pretty wild. Amazing. Guys did an amazing job. And everybody that showed up there, it flowed seamlessly. Chief of department came down. He took over command. I went to operations, and we just made it happen. Everybody worked really well together, like it's happened before.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going back to happening before, that goes back to our Labor Day fire. Hey, it's like I'm using the remote over here. Perfect, the Labor Day fire. So we lost a ton of acres, a bunch of mills, and a bunch of multifamily houses from what I remember.
We're
Uh,
Chief
yep.
in Succasunna, maybe Roxbury Township. That might be rural, but I don't think we're supposed to be talking about fire loss in acres in
Yeah.
urban environments.
Yeah. I think the number was 17 acres. When I was doing my, when I was doing my calculations, I was talking about that fire in one of my presentations.
That's just wild.
Yeah, and that actually started as that's how I segue to it. That actually started as a dumpster fire that was lit by kids, juveniles.
Wow.
With underneath an open window, and that thing took off.
Oof, handkerchief factory.
Oh yeah, there's nothing that's going to burn in there.
That's wild. Now what? So that was
We got some
Labor
good
Day.
pictures.
Obviously,
That's good.
Yeah. I can't take credit for them. I find them on the internet, and as long as I'm not profiting off of them, I think I'm allowed to use them. I think. I'm not sure. Credit to the photographer. I think that clears me of any wrongdoing. If not, read the disclaimer at the beginning of the show. And sorry.
So that was 1985.
Okay.
Labor Day fire of 85.
God, and it came in as a dumpster fire.
I don't know how it came in, but it was a dumpster fire that started it. They were able to trace that back.
What was the now, I mean, obviously you weren't on the job yet, but
I was still living in Long Island at the time. We didn't get back to Jersey till 86.
Okay. I mean, I was 6 months old. So 6.5 months old at the time of this. I missed this one. I didn't get to buff it. Now, obviously you'd heard, I'm sure, plenty of this during your career. What was the makeup of the department like back then?
You know what? We had a lot of single houses and double houses.
Okay.
We had many more engines. I believe we possibly had as many as 7 engine companies at the time. I think we only had two ladder companies. The one that was on Westervelt, which was ladder 1, and then ladder 2 which is the tiller that was down on Dundee, in Dundee, which was on, I believe it's 3rd Street.
Okay.
So
that's wild.
That was engine 2, ladder 2 down on the east side. Yeah, that's pretty.
How long
amazing.
Did that burn for?
I'm not sure. They were actually, so it was interesting. I heard stories that one of the chiefs wanted to evacuate houses and use dynamite to create a fire break to blow up the houses to keep it from jumping block to block.
I have seen the towering inferno. It works. Blow the tower, blow the water tower, and it'll just rain down through the floors. It puts it out. But I think they actually did that in San Francisco earthquake fire 1905. They blew up a block using dynamite, and that's
that's probably where the chief came up with that idea. But back then they actually had deputies that were running the show.
Okay.
And then they had
thankfully
battalions.
They talked them out of it.
I guess. I don't know who. Probably the mayor at the time probably talked them out of it. But they had deputies, they had battalions on shift each day. And
wow.
So we downsized in 2011 when we did our downsize. We went from deputies running the tour to battalions, and they brought the battalions back. And then the deputy became an admin spot.
Okay.
So inside. So, I was asked if I was going to test for that before I retired, and I said, heck no. No way. Keep me on the street.
That sounds like an unwanted headache.
Listen, we'll talk later.
So you're on the job. You're working your way up. I mean, we skipped over your moved to your retirement almost.
All good.
So what did you get involved in when you were working? You'd mentioned you were involved in grants. You were a city training officer at one point, right?
Yep. So 2 days after I get promoted to a lieutenant, I did one shift on the truck company. I played a pickup game of flag football around midnight at one of the field houses up here in Sparta, and blew out my ACL. So making that phone call was sort of tough to the chief, but chief did me solid, and I wound up. So that was what, December 2nd. That was my daughter's birthday, one of my daughter's birthdays, and then I had surgery on the 21st of December. And I was back to work the first week of February, light duty in the office with a brace, and I was back cleared to go 100% by July 1.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No, it wasn't too bad.
Did you lose that sweet spot?
I was able to go back to it. I was able to
All
go
right.
back. I was lucky.
Very lucky.
Yeah, exactly. The good part was they made another lieutenant's position, and somebody else jumped into that spot. So I got into the training officer's position.
Okay.
And you know what? I love being a training officer. I was able to see everybody, all four shifts, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it as a captain as well. Some of the things that I was able to get was it's funny because it's sort of rearing its ugly head now. Everybody's scrambling to try and get the hazmat incident commander. So I just looked at my cert, and that came in 2012. So I was in the training division. I saw that needed to get done, and the chief backed it. We brought in the state police HMRU unit, and they did our 40-hour. And it's just funny how sort of that becomes a cyclical thing again.
Yep.
You know, now everybody's like, "Oh, I need this," you know, with everything going on, and like, hey, we've had this for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was fun. The training division was good. I enjoyed it. I didn't bring any rookies on when I was in there at that time.
Okay.
But then we were phasing in and out. We were using Passaic County Fire Academy, and sometimes we would do an in-house class. But it was fun being a training officer. I get back to the truck, but like it.
Now, do you
we're a
guys
small
have your own
city.
training facility?
We do. We have a Class A burn tower, 5-story burn tower. Yep, that thing's rough. It's a good tower. It gets hot, and we got a penthouse all the way at the top of that of the tower. So we have interior stairs, exterior stairs, nice burn room with a hallway with another door behind. So
Nice.
we do a lot of cool stuff in there. Like back in the day when our recruit, we had a deputy chief who I was fortunate enough to work under when I got out of rookie school. He did our Class A burn. He did our fire behavior burn by having 8 of us stand in the burn room as we lit an incipient fire. Nowadays you can't do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we're going back I'm not that old, but we're going back far enough. And we're just watching it, and it's burning up, and smoke's coming down. It's getting hotter, and everybody's just creeping down on the back wall. So, but that was some of those coolest things that were ever taught or learned.
Yeah.
And again, I went and worked for his on his shift for a couple of years, and I got transferred off and went to a couple different places, and bouncing around was okay. There was guys that were moving a lot more than I was, but I was fortunate enough to hit the truck company, and even on the engine, there was some good times of working with the truck guys because we're so small. We didn't have a rescue. They actually took delivery of Saddlebrook's rescue as an additional piece when I was retiring.
Okay.
So we never had a fully functioning rescue, so the trucks carried it all. We were the giant toolbox.
Yeah.
But that would have been cool. That's one of my things that I would have liked to have done, is ride in the back of the box with the doors open, going down, you know, like the old FD&Y style.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Now wait, is Passaic part of the UASI response?
So yes, so they are. So what units do we have? We had the 4,000 gallon foam tender and the QRV, quick response vehicle, which is a F-150 with the 2,000 gallon nozzles.
Okay.
So we actually, as a firefighter, actually got to, I think it was one of the first or second deployments to 16W, where they had a tanker rollover right by the on the northbound side, and we got foam on it and operated for a while. I got to drive that thing the opposite way through the toll plaza
Nice.
right by Giant
Nice.
Stadium. It's always going to be
Love
Giant Stadium. I'm not going to
Yeah.
apologize.
You don't apologize to me. I agree. So
we had that UOSI asset. It would have been great if we were able to cross train with Patterson with their rescue, but that didn't pop up. But Clifton also had another foam unit. So we were fairly heavy down that area because we were right by the turnpike, and that's why they were created, that urban area security initiative.
Yeah.
For whether it's the air truck or the rescues or the foam units.
The collapse, yeah. And
the collapse unit.
You're right between the Turnpike Parkway.
80.
You got 80, and you're just far enough out of the explosive range of the city.
Correct. Yeah, it was cool. It was good to be on that, and again with Engine 3, was actually assigned that, and that's where I last was before I got brought over to the truck. So my first couple of years on the job, I was an engine guy, and then got moved over to the truck.
Yeah. So how long were you a firefighter before you tested and moved up to lieutenant? And what were your dates of rank, if you will?
2011. So 2000 to 2011 as a firefighter. Okay. 2011 to 15 as a lieutenant. 2015 to 2020 as a captain. And 20 to 22 as a battalion.
Okay. So now when you went back to training as a captain, were you overseeing the training division, or was there still a chief over you, or
no, it was me. It was just us. Yeah, the captain, whether you were captain or a lieutenant, and it was nice because they were able to make that actually a captain's position, which it should be. When I heard stories back in the day, and it actually used to be a battalion's position.
Okay.
And right now, they just promoted another great fireman. He's been in the training since 2015, and Jake's rocking it. They created a battalion spot for him.
Okay.
So he's overseeing the training division. But again, there's a ton of stuff that we got going on. That little city is packed. We just got a ton of stuff. We got mills. We've got we got a hospital. We had 3 hospitals at one time. Right now we're at the, Beth Israel, which is now a 3 school campus that's about 4 blocks long by about 2 blocks wide.
Oh, wow.
Right off of 21 at exit 12. That was Beth Israel. Then you had Passaic General, which is now St. Mary's. And then you had St. Mary's, which is no longer a hospital.
Okay.
So yeah, we had 3 hospitals at the time, and a ton of little businesses, and Main Avenue was hustling, and 1, 2, 3, 4 large mills, just big, giant, heavy timber buildings that were, but like 4 different ones throughout the city. Again, within 3 square miles, you can, you turn and look, and you're seeing a mill or one of the smokestacks for the old mills where they used to incinerate everything.
Now I see a lot of throughout the state, a lot of the towns that had large mills are turning them into mixed use or residentials.
So yeah, they're doing residential over commercial. Yeah, Passaic took I think it was a 4-story, used to be a mill.
And not knocking them down, just gutting
them.
No,
they converted them into a high-end apartment, and on the top floor, it's a restaurant. We had Hoffman Coos on South Street. So South and Market was the 4-story that just went to high-end. So they're trying to do almost like a Riverwalk type thing that Garfield did.
Okay.
Passaic's trying to emulate that, which is not a bad idea. But they took the Hoffman Coos warehouse, and they're converting that right now. There's a ton of building within the city, and it's all in the older sections, especially like on the east side, regarding converting those old mills, those class 4s.
Okay, almost like somebody bought them up cheap when the recessions and property values were low, and now they're trying to, I don't know, maybe
I don't know. Maybe
like you said,
I would have been
everything.
smart.
Well, like you said, everything's cyclical. Sounds like something that happened in the '60s and '70s, and now it's happening again.
Yeah, I just hope that they don't give away the farm with all these tax
Hmm.
abatements,
Yeah.
letting them get away with not paying taxes. That's
Yeah.
what funds the fire service,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Um. All right. So when did you start your new position with the National Fallen Firefighters?
So I became a state advocate for the National Fallen Firefighters probably about 8 years ago. Um, I've always I always enjoyed teaching, and
Okay.
this one gave me the opportunity to reach out and teach around the state a little bit. And this past spring, it was official. John Dixon, who's a battalion chief up in Teaneck, and he just took over as the director of Sussex County Public Safety
Hmm.
Training Academy.
Yeah.
He stepped down from the position as lead advocate, and in talking with the other advocates, I guess, grabbed the short straw. No, I said I'll do it. It's one of those things that I feel passionate about. I'm actually wearing the shirt
Yeah.
tonight. With it, I did a short stint when I was retiring. I was like, I got to stay involved. I got to stay relevant. And I joined the New Jersey State Fire Chiefs Association. You put up the promo for
Yeah.
our class on the 12th with Chief John Yar.
Hmm.
So I worked or got elected as a trustee for the state chiefs, and it's been a phenomenal organization with networking and getting training out there. We've done a couple different classes. 2 years ago, we did the foundations class, and it's funny because we have a sort of a crossover. Um, uh, Tony Correa is also an advocate for the foundation.
Okay.
So we did our taking care of our own class in Somerset County 2 years ago, and this past year we did down in Middlesex. We did a packed house for leadership, so everyone goes home, and
Okay.
leadership, accountability, courage, and knowledge, the LAC class. We did an all-day class for that. So we've been doing that, and it's been working out well. So it was just like a normal progression. Working with the foundation is important because we've got to find ways to better protect ourselves. And the mission of the foundation is to prevent preventable deaths.
Yeah.
Right. The FRCE, First Responder Center of Excellence, was created, and they're working on great things with cancer prevention and behavioral health.
Hmm.
Um, Unfortunately, suicide is still a prevalent thing in the fire service.
Very.
New Jersey has lost so far this year that I know of 2 firefighters in the career departments to suicide.
Fair.
So again, if you've got anybody listening, you think it's bad, reach out to somebody. Text
Yeah.
me, call me, find me.
Yeah.
We'll get you somebody. We'll get you to talk to somebody. We'll get you help. And that's the big thing. I used to help out, and I've taught down at Orlando's fire conference. And Matt Negley was a battalion chief on Orlando City Fire.
Mm.
And unfortunately, Matt committed suicide several years ago. And again, I looked at Matt as an informal mentor, and I thought he had it all. And
You never.
you just
Yeah.
never know. So
Never know
it's
what's going
important.
on with somebody else.
We never know the demons that we have, and so it's important. If you're struggling with something, reach out to a friend, talk to somebody. So, but with that, the foundation is a great. It's just a great society of people that come together to pull off
Absolutely.
many different things. I was fortunate enough to go to Memorial Weekend. I've gone to 3. My first one, I was honored to be the family escort for our line of duty death in Passaic from 2000. Izzy passed away. He was the first COVID line of duty death in the nation. He passed away on March 31st of 2020. And I got sick from him. So I was sick for a month and a half, bilateral pneumonia. I was able to stay out of the hospital. Thank God. My wife did an amazing job, but I was able to pay respects to him and honor his family, Izzy Tolentino. And, I was able to be with Maria and Izzy Jr. and Ailani for that weekend. And I return each time for that. Now, that was October. Now the past 2 years, we're doing it in May. So there was no issues with a potential government shutdown in October. So you can always honor our families. But with my wife, Amy, she's come down to that and found out that there are camps, grief camps for any firefighter children that have lost their parent or their parent. So they're able to go. Comfort Zone Camp does a thing with Hal Bruno camp for that. So my wife's gotten involved with that, and she's done some really cool things. Comfort Zones is a 501c3 organization that's out there, but it's not just for the fire service or police or first responders. They do it for anybody, and it's a free camp for kids that have lost a guardian or a parent.
Can you do you have information for that? Maybe email that to me when we're done recording.
Absolutely.
I'll put that in the show notes because I've never actually heard of that.
So I didn't know about it until actually when we were doing when I was the family escort for Izzy's family, and my wife found out that they were going to a camp up in North Jersey that was being sponsored by the foundation, and so my wife volunteered and became a big sister for campers, and she's been doing that a number of times a year for the past 3 years, and it's a great organization. And they, like I said, it's not just for first responders, but it's for anybody that's lost a parent or a guardian.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like I said, I never heard about that. Like I've heard of the burn victims camps,
the burn camps and stuff like that. Absolutely. Yep.
I've never heard of that. That's phenomenal.
So she does some great stuff with that, and that's just something that came along. She tripped over it, truthfully, while we were talking with Maria and the kids, and they were saying they were going to the camp, and she's like, "Oh, that's only 20 minutes from us. How do I get involved?" And she jumped into it, and so she's involved, one way or another.
That's great.
So it's good. We have a big family, so it's sometimes it's a strain, but she does an amazing job with keeping things going. I seem like I only got busier when I retired.
Yeah, I get busy on my days off, on my time off.
I think it kept me honest.
I'm available. Everybody knows I'm available, so they're like, hey.
That's it. I think every fourth day having to go into work kept me honest. Kept me from traveling all over, and with retiring, that opened me wide up.
Yeah,
which is great because I was able to see parts of the country. I'm fortunate to get down to Florida and help out at County Fire Tactics and part of the green team, which is Chief Isaacson's logistics team that pulls off his conferences down there. And fortunate enough to teach at Orlando. We're doing our elevator class down there a couple times. And before that, I was just a stoker. I was just helping keep the fires going for the interior guys. Oh, it's a blast. Oh, such a blast. The fire service, you look how big it is, but in a real scheme of things, it's small. It's so small. And then to find out the instructor aspect to it of who's actually teaching, and it's tiny, bro. Everybody knows everybody, which is phenomenal because that's a tight-knit family.
Yeah. Yeah. And once you get out of your own small bubble, you realize it's amazing. You got to leave the small bubble and the small community to find out how large yet small the fire service family is.
What they say, the 6 degrees of separation for Kevin Bacon. Yeah. I think the fire service is probably only about like 3, and in the instructor aspect of it.
Oh,
you start talking to guys like, oh yeah, I worked with him here. I did this here.
Mhm.
This past week I was able to, talk with Chief Lieb. Chief Lieb is retired now out of FDNY, and he's one of the big wigs now of the
Mhm.
FRCE. And so talking with him about different things that are going on on that side.
Yeah.
And we have if you read the article that Lee put out, he talked about Driver Joe. Driver Joe was his chauffeur, and Joe's down there as part of the green team guys. And it's really cool how small it is, with talking with Champo. So going full circle back to Champo, John Champo from Wyckoff, those guys were at that fire in the morning with
Yeah.
their Barker aerial scope from Wyckoff, knocking the crap out of
Yeah.
the fire that was still burning. So
I'm working on Mike, retired Lieutenant Champo.
yep.
And just got to work things out with what he's got going on right now. So
Yep, Mike's Mike's very fortunate.
very.
He got sick, and they actually showed his PSA video to FDNY regarding masking up and wearing
Yep.
the mask, especially during overhaul when a lot of us didn't and haven't. Well, that was, I guess, one of the things that I did when I was as a training officer. I was also the safety officer, I was a lieutenant or
Okay.
captain both times. And I actually went and bought 2 meters for me. I bought a CO meter and a hydrogen cyanide meter.
Okay.
So anytime that we had a fire and we were in overhaul stage, I'd walk the building. I make sure we're clear. And if we weren't clear, masks are on.
Yeah.
Listen, my whole job is to make sure everyone goes home safe. And the other aspect that is enjoy their retirement as long as they can and beat the system.
Yeah, exactly. Get as much of the government, get their money back that they paid into the system, and start working off the government's money. Get it all back.
So, and that was my big thing. I was a stickler with some of that stuff. Seatbelts were another short, easy thing. It's interesting. When I got promoted, my wife asked me, she goes, "Listen, I'm not going to ask much of you regarding the job or anything else." She goes, "But I'm going to ask you to talk to your chauffeur and make sure he wears his seatbelt." And I'm like, huh, interesting. So I talked to my chauffeurs on the truck, or even my driver when I had a driver, a command tech when I was a battalion. Listen, wear your seatbelt, because you can't keep your butt in the seat if you're holding onto the steering wheel.
Yep.
Trying to keep your butt in the seat. You can't steer when you don't
Bouncing
have
all over the place.
Exactly. So that's just something that she asked me to do, and I honor that. She doesn't ask much of me. So it's just one of those things. It's easy enough in the fire service. One of those preventable things.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, if I get in my car, I feel naked without a seatbelt. But it was okay to
weird.
But to get in an apparatus, it was like, okay, I can deal with this. But if we start taking a look at some of these accidents that are going on, and unfortunately line of duty deaths,
yeah,
seatbelts keep you inside the cab, and it doesn't roll on top of you, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's actually how I was first introduced to the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation website, and the training that they have, the training abilities that opportunities they have, was through the seatbelt pledge.
Yep, absolutely.
That's and like you said, the LAC program. It's 3 or 4 different classes, and
so
phenomenal.
We're rolling out a couple more classes. So for Jersey guys, Keen just put out the class list for the fall. Check them out. We're going to be running a attributes of leadership class from the foundation. We're going to do a courage to be safe. I'm teaching that, I think, November 18th up in Morris County.
Okay.
We're going to be teaching, I believe, I'm trying to think what else. I think we're going to do a LAC and a LEGH down in Central and South Jersey. So the foundation's out there, and that's one of the cool things about with the advocacy. We've got 9 other advocates besides myself, and I just was at the T&E and the EO meeting the end of August, and I told everybody that was there is our advocates are going to be out. We're going to start knocking on doors, and we're going to be meeting with the directors of the academies to see how we can assist them, providing resources, and even trying to see what classes that they will do as a standalone program or roll into some of their programs.
Yeah.
So in Sussex, John did a great job with we did it called a fire officer development class.
Okay.
So we rolled in our attributes leadership class into one of those sessions. Believe it or not, I don't know if you know this, but the 16 life safety initiatives just had its 20th anniversary this year.
Wow.
So last week they had a life safety summit in St. Louis where they're looking at potentially revising or repackaging the 16 life safety initiatives.
Okay.
So we're gonna see some new stuff coming out of the NFFF with some new classes. Jersey just got the approval to start teaching crew resource management as well as after action review.
Okay.
So we signed our MOU with the state and the foundation. So we've got some really cool things happening, and we're excited.
I like it. That's phenomenal. And also so now is there a link to these events if they go to the NFFF website?
It's not going to be on the foundation website. It's going to
Okay.
be on Keene's fire safety website.
Okay.
So anybody that's an inspector, instructor, investigator, fire official has to maintain CEUs, right?
Yep.
But if you're a fireman, we don't have to do CEUs, at least yet in Jersey. Maybe that's coming down.
Not yet.
Maybe that's coming down the line, but you can still take these classes. You know, there's fire service classes that'll help us out.
Yeah.
It's one thing I've always preached. We have to invest in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you were talking about getting out of that bubble. I talk to guys. I'm like, you got to get outside our 3.2 square miles because there's a huge fire service out there, and you got to see how other people are doing it.
100%.
If you only stick within those 3.2 square miles, you're only going to know what's within those 3.2 square miles.
Well, and not only that, but I talk to people that, you know, the fire service is a bunch of ups and downs, you know, over the course of a career. And whether it's the volunteer firehouse or the career fire department, you know, you're going to have that high and low where, you know what, you might be questioning, why the hell am I still here? Like, what am I doing? Am I really playing an active part? And you know what? Until you get outside of your bubble, you don't realize how good you may have it. But then, you know, looking at my guest last week, Chief Event Tajado, who started in New Jersey and now he's a chief in Harrington, Kansas. How good we really have it in the fire service here in New Jersey, especially. You know, we got a lot of dollars. We have a lot of stuff. We have a lot of opportunities close by. You know, every county has its own academy. Some towns have their own. But then, you know what? Yeah, we might have it worse than other places. But you know what? What are you guys doing to get through it? And what are you guys doing to overcome your shortfalls and, you know, your shortcomings in your department? Oh, hey, you know what? We do this, or this. And now that gives you the ability to go back to your department with a new set of eyes. Hey, you know what? Let's shoot this way. Let's shoot that way. Let's do something to better our situation. And until you leave that bubble, you're not going to know it even exists.
Correct. That's why it's important. If you only get a shot at hitting FDIC once in a lifetime, it's the Disney World of fire conferences. If you're not there for the training, get there for the brotherhood and sisterhood. 35,000 people. That was pre-COVID numbers. I think they were close to pre-COVID numbers this past year. I just got my rejection letter for a class I put in, but again, I'm going to continue to do that. And I was fortunate enough to see Chief Rhodes down in Pensacola and talk to him for a little bit. And like, again, there's a ton of people. I think they said over 1,000 applicants for the classes.
Yeah.
Again, putting it to teach. So again, you're up against some of the best in the business, you know, guys like, you know, Ray McCormick and Mike and Chief Lee, you know, it's definitely, it's humbling, but you got to get out there and you got to find out what's going to work for you. And, you know,
100%.
The fire service is such a brotherhood. And again, I'm used brotherhood and sisterhood in the same family. Yeah. I had a buddy of mine from Sparta who was applying in different places. And he goes, "Hey, you said you know somebody in this department." So I'm like, "Yeah, let me reach out." And hey, they did their job to test high enough, and now they got this interview. And he's like, hey, can you find out information about this? And that's what it's about, trying to help each other
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
Something pretty cool. And I don't know if you know him, but Anthony Rowett, Port City Fire Training.
Yeah.
I actually
Sussex,
taught
New Jersey
Anthony
boy.
Ogdensburg.
Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
Anthony's down in Mobile. I saw him this weekend.
I'm working on getting him on the show.
Anthony's another great guy. Phenomenal.
I went down there in October, this past October, for Marine firefighter class for work. And he's like, stop by the firehouse. Now, obviously through social media, I've been bouncing things off each other, and I knew he was a Jersey boy at that point. So I stopped by the firehouse. His crew put on a whole dinner, showed me around the firehouse. Beautiful old firehouse. If you ever get to Mobile, you got to go see his firehouse. They got they got an old watchtower.
Oh, cool.
And you can see for miles.
No, that's cool. And again, that's how small the fire service is.
Mickey Farrell.
Mickey's
Floor Tactics. Another great dude from Sussex.
Another Sussex guy, another Sparta guy.
Yep.
We've got a lot of talent in New Jersey that has stayed and has gone. Have gone. I taught with Chief Dennis Riley. He used to be
I had him on the show.
I love Chief Riley's phenomenal. Him and I teach our officer development class that we've done at a couple conferences. Dennis is a phenomenal guy. Now we just relocated to the Panhandle.
Like the motto of the NJ Fire guys, the greatest firemen in the world have roots in Jersey, in the Garden State.
Absolutely.
I mean,
one way or another.
Yeah. So, all right. So moving along, let's talk about next week's conference seminar down in Wildwood for the Chiefs Association.
So Chief John Yar is gonna speak for about 2.5 to 3 hours. We got some CEUs for that from the Division of Fire Safety.
Excellent.
John, Lakewood is blowing up, figuratively and literally. They're catching fire left and right, and they're the fastest growing community in the country. I heard.
Yeah, they're like, I forget what time frame he said last year when he spoke at the after the conference before the meeting.
So he spoke at the meeting. Absolutely.
I forget what time frame, but they're doubling in population I forget whether it was every 10-year census, but it was ridiculous. And you look at the numbers in that town, and I mean, Lakewood's still a big town. Like they're
growing. Their fire service is growing too. Thank God.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Their volunteers, moved out or had to get other jobs.
It's tougher to volunteer right now.
Everywhere.
So Chief John Yar is going to speak about some leadership stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then during the meeting, I'm going to get about a 10-15 minute shot. I'm going to talk about some ownership and mentorship stuff.
Okay.
During the meeting, I'm basically taking the spot that Chief Yar did last year.
Okay.
So it's definitely going to be good, and we're going to introduce something. I don't know if did you hop on the EV podcast we did last week?
No, I wasn't able to get on. I watched it after the fact.
So I think we're, because you're part of the training the training committee that we have for the state chiefs. We're going to be rolling out something new called the Fire Training Chat. We did an hour and a half, like 7 to 8:30, and we bring some people in and we talk about some different topics. But I think we're going to be doing something called Intro to Fire Officer Development.
Okay.
So we're going to do 6 nights between October and November, and break it down on different parts to about being an officer.
Okay.
We're going to talk about command from the officer side of it, a new officer, and then we'll talk about engine and truck, the perspective of officers from there, and then talk about command. First one, size up. Fourth one's going to be incident command. The fifth one, Chief Morris is going to talk about mentorship.
All right.
So I'm looking
Excellent.
forward to that one. He's phenomenal with that. That's his organizational leadership stuff that he's done his doctorate on is remarkable. Yeah. And then the last one, I think we're going to talk. We're calling it customer service, but we're going to get some report writing in there and talk about some things.
Talk about Nearest.
Nearest coming up, and again, we're going to talk about. So again, that's only half a year away.
Yeah.
And the rollout. So there's a beta test on it. But the other aspect is the firefighter rescue surfing.
Yeah.
From Chief Brian Brush. Chief Brush was down there this past weekend too. And the information, they've got data for over 3,000 grabs. They're still pushing. If you're getting a rescue, go to the firefighter rescue survey, enter the information. It's going to help us. It's making us better as firefighters. Now we're knowing that we knew it. Some of us knew it, and a lot of us knew it, that VES works. We're our victims. So we're going to be at the egress points, under windows. And then, Sean Duffy's talking about VES and beyond. So you're hitting that door, hook your foot. You're having people that are out in the hallway and grab them. Sean does a class that they actually, and again, you've got to be a seasoned firefighter that's pretty strong in your search skills, but bumping down a hallway from going one window to another room and then coming back or whatever. But again, we're learning so much from this. My big kick, and I'm going to, as part of the New Jersey Fire and EMS Institute, I'd like to see some legislation on the cyno kits. A lot of the paramedics aren't carrying that in Jersey. I know down south they might be, but up north they're not. And again, I think legislation needs to come out that all of our medic units carry at least 2 to 3 of these things for the civilians as well as firefighters. FDNY had a successful resuscitation of a firefighter just this past year. Yeah, by using a cyno kit.
Yeah. So, and you think about, we're handing out Narcan like it's candy on Halloween.
Yep, exactly. So again, it's got to be administered, but unfortunately, it's got to be administered by a paramedic. But if our paramedics can start carrying it, and I was even like, hey, why don't we just give it to our flight medics for now? If it's a cost factor, let's do something. Let's get the birds carrying them. So again, because if we do have somebody that's brought back, they got to get to a hyperbaric chamber if they've got smoke inhalation. Yeah. So again, that's, if they're not burnt, you know what I mean? So I'm working on that. Talking with amazing firefighters and chiefs. Jim Smith just retired, and he's the president of that association. He's doing some great work. Ed Mullen is doing phenomenal stuff as well. So we've got great names in the fire service in New Jersey that are pushing the envelope.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Now, Chief, are you involved with as the advocate for the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation? Are you involved with the Beach Bash down in Wildwood?
So that's perfect, because I haven't seen that flyer yet. So last year I was. I was taking photos for them and some video and stuff. Okay. But that's yes. So it's interesting. The foundation has several different branches. So they have the educational branch, which is the EGH. Everyone goes home, the advocates. That's the training aspect. Okay. They have a fundraising aspect, because the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation is a 501c3. So they have a fundraising arm. Okay. We actually got to hang out this past, I think it was the beginning of August or end of July, when Pierce was doing their road rallies. Okay. They did a road rally down in South Jersey, and then they did one in North Jersey, and the foundation is part of that, because Fire and Safety is a corporate sponsor for the foundation. So they bring the foundation fundraising arm in to help out and raise some money. We sell they sell some t-shirts and challenge coins and some stuff like that. And myself and Phil Wilk from Morris County went down, and we were in Fairfield at the last road rally, and hung
Okay.
out and talked with people and explained what the foundation's about and explaining what the state chiefs is doing. And, so I'll be down there. Actually, it's great to see that because I know they were trying to figure what they were going to do. I know they were talking about a joint fundraising.
This has been out on the internet. I've seen it once or twice, but not like last year. Last year, I feel like it was
They pushed it out.
publicized better. I
Yeah,
feel like it was publicized a lot better last year.
that's perfect. I'm glad to see that. That'll be a good time. I'll be there, and I believe my wife will be down with me for that because she's coming down after she's actually taking classes on Friday, so she'll shoot down after class.
Okay. Anybody, if you haven't been before, it's a great time, great networking, great brotherhood, live music. It's a beautiful setting right over the beach. Of course, there's bars, there's food. Scan the QR code, and
They did a
believe
silent
I believe
auction
the whole
last year.
I believe the whole $10 or $15, whatever it is, I believe goes right to
Right
all
to
to
the
the
foundation.
charity, right?
Yeah, absolutely goes right to
Goes right to
charity.
so for a $10-15 donation, come out, have a great time with great brothers and sisters in the fire service, great music, good time all around.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'll definitely be there.
Mhm.
Again, I'm trying to showcase the foundation and get us out there. We're just we're trying to do the right thing for the right reasons and
Absolutely.
keep our brothers and sisters safe.
I absolutely. I mean, that's what we're here for. We have to, our job is to take care of others, but we need to take care of ourselves so that we'll be around to take
To
care
take
of
care of
others.
others. Exactly.
All right. So, if you have anything else, you have any other upcoming events you want to put out there, or
Just doing some classes. We're with Beyond the Basics, we're doing some our through the lock classes. We're going to be in Andover. We're going to be in Elmwood Park, which is pretty cool because my father was a member there back in the early '70s, so it's going to be pretty cool. We'll be teaching down there, but we
excellent.
do. I enjoy teaching, so that's one of the biggest things. We come out. It's really relaxed because you got to create that atmosphere to learn, and I'll definitely be around, whether it's with my company or with the state
Mhm.
chiefs,
Definitely.
and definitely with the foundation. And I'm up in Sussex. I'm looking forward to. I start a new job tomorrow. I'm an
What are you
adjunct
doing now?
professor.
Jesus.
I'm an adjunct professor for our county college. I'm teaching some fire behavior. So
So much for retirement.
listen, I told you I got busier.
I think I'll keep working.
So again, so I'm teaching at the academy, teaching for the college at the academy, which is pretty cool. Like I said, John Dixon did a phenomenal job of partnering that with a lot of our instructors. 3
Okay.
or 4 of us just got hired as adjuncts for the fire science program for the county college. So we're
Awesome.
teaching there and teaching. I'm pretty much assigned to the fire officer class that's being taught through the academy up
Excellent.
there. So again, we have to create a succession plan, and again, that's that ownership and that's that mentorship
Yep.
aspect. And if I can pass on some things that I did on the street
Mhm.
and behind the desk to make life easier, less stressful,
Yeah.
and better, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you hearing?
The 3-year-old just came in.
You never know
What's
what's
up?
going to happen.
Thank you, buddy. Good job, Nick. Thank you.
That's great. Is he Nick the third?
Yes, he is.
That's
He is
awesome.
he is NP3.
NP3. Awesome.
So he's a Hulk. He turns into the Hulk. I was at a family party yesterday, and he was. I'm like, oh boy. Okay, so the older boys at the party all went inside. Well, he wanted to go inside, so he jumped out of the pool and he started. I'm like, no, 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 no. You're not going in the house until you dry off. And he's head down, and he's starting to. Well, he's 3 years old, but he's the size of a 5-year-old. which anybody who knows me, that's surprising because I'm about the size of a 5-year-old. So, and I'm like, oh my god, you guys are gonna witness it. He's about to turn from Bruce Banner to the Hulk. They're like, what? I'm like, it's gonna be impressive.
That's funny.
Yeah, he's a wild man. All right, so let's get into the jersey questions.
Sure, talk to me.
All right, first, is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
It's Taylor ham. We're north of the Raritan.
All right,
because
moving
South
right
Jersey
along.
is south of the Raritan. That
All
always
right.
stirs some controversy. I know.
I don't know how these next few questions are going to work out for here.
So you lead off with that one? Perfect.
Oh,
Bring 'em on.
Exactly. That's the first one.
Bring them on.
That's the most controversial question in the state of New Jersey. Best pizza.
Best pizza.
Best
You know what? I'm gonna go with Luigi's Pizza in Sucasana.
Okay. All right.
I old school family. Been both. So the father passed it on to the son, and their dough is just something that's perfect. Their pizza crust is amazing.
All right. All
Good
right.
pie.
I'll have to check that place out.
Yep.
Luigi's in Sucasana. All right.
Yep. Roxbury Mall.
Do you go to the beach or do you go down the shore?
Go to the shore.
Okay. All right.
I was, as a kid, we went to Ocean Beach, OB3,
okay,
Lavalette, and then my mom's side of the family went down to Cape May. So we used to go to Cape May. I love Cape May.
All right. All right. What's your so Cape May's your beach of choice now?
Yeah, I'd say that.
All right. All right. Does Central Jersey really exist?
Well, when I just said my prior statement of anything south of the Raritan,
like I was
South
saying,
Jersey,
it gets more.
It could,
it could.
I think the South Jersey people don't want to admit that there's a Central Jersey, or don't want to take on the Central Jersey people, so they call them Central.
I love it. I love it. All right, so if there was a Central Jersey, where would you draw your lines?
Ooh. Raritan north, LBI south, as the southernmost border of Central.
All right, I can go with that.
Still got 60 some miles going south.
Yeah. All right, I got that. I can live with that.
But then you get that west thing going on over in the southwest.
Yeah, that
I drove to Burlington the other day. I felt like I was in the car for 15 hours.
All right. Next question. Who are or were some of your mentors?
So I've had a lot of informal mentors.
Okay.
First one, I don't know if you remember, it's probably one of the first. He was one of the creators of one of the first fire service websites. Remember vetentersearch.com?
Yes.
So Jim Walsh.
Okay.
Jim Walsh.
Yeah.
He was very much an informal mentor of mine.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Winter Park, Florida. I don't know if you know his story. Phenomenal guy. I met him through going down to Orlando Fire Conference.
Okay.
And going out to FDIC, and he was slated to be the next chief of department, and he was having a meeting with his paramedic assistants. I think he was number 2 in charge of Winter Park, and had a massive stroke. And if it wasn't for him being in that meeting, they rushed him to the hospital and they saved his life.
Wow.
So one of the coolest things to see was after him coming back 2 years later and presenting at FDIC after having that stroke.
That's phenomenal.
So Jim Walsh is probably one of my bigger ones. Mike Champo, another guy that I could call and talk to. Funny story in Passaic. I was able to get him in to teach a couple classes for us, some leadership stuff. He did some truck stuff when we got the new Spartan a number of years ago. And we're at a fire in a Victorian, and wasn't one of our stellar jobs. This thing got away from us pretty quickly. But
It happens.
Dude, this building had 38 beds in it.
Ooh.
Yeah, 38 beds, like 4 or 5 cribs. No injuries. Everybody was out. So this thing's running. It's running it's running the void spaces, and we're just chasing this thing. So the next thing I know, I look back and who's coming underneath the scene tape? It's Mike, and he's like shaking hands and kissing babies, and all my guys are like, "Hey, Mike, what's going on?" Because we brought him in to train with us. So he's shaking hands and everything else, and he's like, comes up and sees me. He's like, "Hey, it's burning." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes,
Thanks.
He goes, "I saw the column from the George Washington Bridge." I'm like, "Bullshit." Pardon, sorry for cursing.
No,
like, you did not. He goes, no. My brother called. He told me about it. I had to come over. I was buffing it. I'm like, I love that with Mike.
I love it.
So now Mike's an ace. Anytime I've submitted to FDIC, I've always gone through Mike. Maybe I should stop going through Mike. I'll have to maybe reach out to Lieb or Ray or something like that. Maybe that'll change my luck up. But no, I love Mike, and it was great. This past week, we were actually, forget what day, it had to be Sunday before the conference. We went down a couple days early with my wife and my youngest daughter, and Mike and I are actually in the Gulf. And if anybody knows that Pensacola is the home of the
Blue Angels.
So somebody said, "Hey, they're coming back. They should be between 3:30 and 4:30." Sure as anything, they came, I would say, 75 feet off the shore, buzzing the beach with the smoke. And Mike and I are like just looking up and just watching them. It was amazing.
Awesome.
Right overhead. Awesome. But yeah, Mike's a constant gentleman, a dynamic speaker, and an instructor, and
definitely
just one hell of a guy. So he's one of my formal / informal, and the biggest one would be my dad.
Absolutely, that's awesome.
My dad would be my biggest mentor. I followed in his footsteps. I could say I was probably born with a pair of fire boots. Back then it was all rubber boots with no leather ones, but I won't be quite dead in rubber boots now unless I'm walking through water.
Right.
But yeah, that's my dad. To this day, I bounce stuff off of him regarding classes, and whether we're creating lesson plans for a hands-on class or a classroom class that he's developed. He created this an engine company ops class that we've been teaching, and it's just awesome to watch him do it.
Yeah.
So it's
awesome.
It's definitely
still
cool.
That he's still out there, 75 years old, still doing it.
I am blessed to be able to teach alongside him and with him. And
awesome.
One of the coolest things is I actually got him to teach with me out at Firehouse.
Okay.
So Firehouse Expo out in Columbus. One of my Sean Egan was supposed to teach with me. He had a family emergency and he couldn't teach. So I called Peter Matthews. And I said, "Pete, like, my dad's going to be there." I said, "You mind if he teaches?" He goes, "Absolutely, have him do it." And it was cool to be on a big stage and teach with him.
Phenomenal. I love that.
Yep.
All right. So next question: proudest achievement or accomplishments on the job?
All the promotions. If I can lump them all together.
Yeah.
If anybody knows with the career side promotions, it's not a 3-month, 6-month study thing. It's 3 years.
Yeah.
Which turn into another 3 years, which turn into another 3 years. You're always studying.
Yep.
And so my first test I took with 4 years on the job, and I came out number 6 and I died number 1. Yep. So I studied hard, and the next test came out and I came out number 1. So I got made off of that.
All right.
But the promotions, that's the greatest achievement, because it's not just it's not just me. It's my
Yeah.
wife and my
The
family
sacrifices the family
sacrificing
made. And,
everything. I was studying a ton. I was,
hmm
especially for captain in battalion, I was studying with three or four different guys. Just not even in the department. There's one or two guys in the
hmm
department that we would study together. My buddy Adam Alberti. Adam, phenomenal firefighter, great engine guy. So we were like the dynamic duo. He was an engine guy, I was a truck guy, and we came up getting promoted together. He got promoted in that first list. Then we got promoted after me on the captains, and then we got promoted together in battalion, and we still live like 20 minutes apart from each other, and
I
our
love it.
lives are tight. But it's when him and I were studying, there's no competition here. It's making each other better. And we actually started in Roxbury together. He was a
Oh,
couple
wow.
years
Okay.
ahead of me, and yeah, his father was on the job as a captain,
Okay.
retired, and then he said to me, "Kid, he goes, you do what you can do," because I had residency, I had everything, because that whole you got to play that whole game.
Yep.
And I was lucky enough. My grandparents were there, and I moved
hmm
in and lived with them for a number of years, helping them out. And he goes, "I'll put in a good word for you." And I was fortunate enough when I got hired, came out number 4 on the test and got hired number 2.
Oh, that's awesome. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it was great. That was so. I'm definitely blessed to get that. In the fire service, getting on the job is probably one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. All right. So, last question. What advice do you have for the fire service?
In each position that you go through, from a new firefighter to a sort of seasoned firefighter to a senior man to an new officer to a seasoned officer, all the way up to a chief. Be a sponge. Absorb everything.
I
Learn
like
as
it.
much as you can, because you never know when you're going to have to pull that knowledge or experience out
hmm
to make it happen. And that's our job. We have to make it happen no matter what. When I talk to Fire One classes, when I start, when I get my first shot at teaching at a Fire One class, whether they're 2-3 weeks in
hmm
or a couple months in, because my rotation just doesn't hit up, I give them my speech. There's no 912.
Yeah.
You're 911. You're the
That's it.
professionals, whether you're career, paid, volunteer, paid on call, whatever you are, wildland. There's no
Yeah.
912. You're the
You're
professionals.
it.
And again, by wearing this crest that we wear, it is much bigger than you and your
Yep.
department.
It's not
Don't
about
bring
you
this.
anymore.
Don't bring disgrace. Be the sponge, because you're the one that's going to have to answer that call one day
Yep.
and make it happen.
100%. 100%. All right. Well, do you have any shout outs? Anybody you want to say hi to? Anything you want to push?
I'm probably going to miss people, so I'm not going to shout out to anybody. But no, it's again, it's the guys that worked and ladies that I worked with were some of the best in the business. Passaic made it happen every time. Driver, officer, and one. We always did it. The joke was, once you became a new engine guy, new engine boss, you had the line, because that's what happened. And we were pushing in with the driver, the officer of the truck, forcing entry and doing a search, and the engine boss was coming in with the line until whoever was making the hydrant caught up with them. We made it happen, and the firefighters and officers and chiefs of Passaic were second to none. It was a great family.
You know, a good officer would he would hop out and take the hydrant and let the nozzle guy take the fire.
There was no hydrants for me. I don't have water on the truck. Excuse me, I had water. I had 5 gallons, two
Two
water
and a
cans.
half cans. I like it. I love it.
And if I could put that fire out with that, absolutely, I was doing it.
I
was a
hit
firefighter
somebody
or an
with that
officer.
once. I hit somebody with that once. Our tower ladder had a 300-gallon tank, and they were like, "Oh, what do you know about this truck?" And they're trying to question me. I'm like, all right, blah, 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 blah. How many gallons of water on it? I went 305. What? 305? I'm like, yeah, there's 2 water cans, one in the back and one over here. And he just turned around and walked away.
It's great.
Turned around and walked away.
But again, you can do a heck of a lot with hitting with a can. Eric Wheaton teaches a phenomenal class, Can Confidence. He's out of Winter Park. He's actually running Ventnor Search right now. And again, there's just so many people out there that I've taught with, I've learned from, sat in classes. Chief Turpak is another amazing,
phenomenal.
I've learned so much from Mike, and he was probably one of my formal mentors as well. Just an amazing guy with the knowledge and experience. But again, it's
another
the Jersey guy
as I think he was episode like 4 or 5, but another one of those guys that no matter how many FDICs, how many Firehouse Expos, how many conference, he's still one of those guys that you could pick up the phone and be like, hey, Chief Turpak, I have a question, blah, blah. First of all, it's Mike, blah, blah, blah. And you're just talking to a normal guy. And, he never has that holier than thou attitude, or I don't have to, you're just, no, he always makes time for a true gentleman, And
he was a volley too. He started out in Little Falls.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, some of the best firemen out there, volunteers.
Yep.
That became career. And I'll tell you right now, I joked around about G Crew. There were some volunteer firefighters that I would put up against career firefighters any time or day because of the amount of work. There is, I'll throw one out from Wallington, Sean Tilt. Sean's a hell of a chief, hell of a firefighter. Seeing him on scene as a incident commander was perfect. I didn't have to worry about him or his crews. There were guys out there that were awesome. I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of great people. Clifton's Ladder 3 on our Sakes Tour 3. Those guys were second to none. They put that piece. It was a 75-foot rear mount stick, and they'd hop curbs, hop hose, and get that thing into play anywhere I needed it. And no, those guys would do anything for us. So the work we did with our mutual aid, whether career or volunteer, they were there. It was fun. I miss going to jobs in Passaic. I don't miss the craziness of the admin stuff, but going on runs and fighting fires. Again, you were talking about that fire on High Street with Jimmy Kovacs. Jimmy was calm as rain.
Yeah,
3 buildings going off, a row frame. And if you took a look at Google Earth and you look down at it, you saw that it had a lantern style roof on top.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So again, that's something that's sort of out of the ordinary. But again, that's what our job is. We're dealing with out of the ordinary stuff. And he commanded that phenomenally. Calm, cool, collected.
Yeah, so, I gotta say, I was listening to it. I was sitting there listening to it at work, and I'm hearing his communications, and I pulled it up on one of the GPS, and I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the street view. I'm like, listening to his communications. I'm like, this doesn't sound. I'm like, his voice doesn't match what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, and what my firematic mind is predicting is going on in front of him. I'm like, this is a solid leader here.
Jimmy's solid.
Stone cold. So, I like it.
With that building, you had 2 in the front, 3 in the rear.
Yeah.
Almost 4 in the rear with that lantern style, because you couldn't see that lantern style roof from the street view from the front. And again, they had some people they didn't have jumpers, but they had people hopping from
there was a guy on a roof at one point
climbing over and stuff like that. So again, that's sort of commonplace at work. It happens. One of my last fires, we had a 3-story ordinary going, and upon my arrival, dispatchers telling me I had a child lost on 2, and then I got to the front door and I had a woman a young woman yelling, screaming at me that her grandmother was trapped on 3.
Mm.
Joey Ivanicki made a phenomenal grab at the bulkhead door, at the top of the bulkhead door, which was locked.
Mm.
He did something. And I talk about it when we're talking search, and I'm getting passionate right now.
Let's do it.
So what do we teach our young guys about search? Take a deep breath, shut up, and listen.
Listen.
So he got up to the 3rd floor, searched all 3 apartments. No one was there. Took a deep breath in the hallway and listened and heard her whimper and cough.
Oh.
And he found the stairway, because it had 3 steps up to a landing and then a straight run of 12 steps to the bulkhead door.
Okay.
He gets her, does a mule kick on the door. It doesn't go. It's dead bolted from the outside and thumb latched. So they flip the lock around so nobody can get up onto the roof.
Yeah.
He grabs her and drags her all the way back down and out. Made a rescue. She survived.
Wow, that's a hell of a job.
The fire was a 1st floor fire at the base of the stairs, and the tenant left the door open. Self-closure didn't work. So again, amazing work that our crews do.
Yeah.
And again, it's not just Passaic, it's all the short-staffed departments, career or volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
We make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, the volunteer, Passaic has a driver, officer, and 1. Some towns are volunteer rolling up with a driver and 1, or a driver, 1, and a kid. And and the drivers, a lot of times, especially during the day, 50, 60, 70 years old.
75. I talked to my dad about that. I'm like, hey,
doing what he can.
Listen, and he already told me, he goes, listen, if I got to go inside, I will. I'm like, I know you will. I said, I really don't want you inside.
I don't want you to.
But I understand that you will. Even in Roxbury, we've had Roxbury's had, unfortunately, within this past year, we've had 2 fatals. And we went like a string of probably almost 20 some years without. But when I first got on, we had a 95, we had a double fatal. And then, it is what it is. And then we had a couple others, but again, you got to do the job. You've got to, when your time's there, when it's time to do fireman shit, it's time to do fireman shit.
Yep. True story.
And firefighter shit. I don't want to offend anybody.
Wow. To me, fireman, I don't think it's spelled the same way. It's a non-denominational word. It's
all encompassing.
It's talking about the character of the individual, somebody that's going to go above and beyond and do the job.
100%.
Firefighter is just a title on a certificate, unless you do something with it.
You always want to be a good fireman.
Exactly.
No matter what.
Exactly. All right, Chief. We will we'll wrap it up. I'm going to put you back into the backstage area. I'm going to say my goodbyes real quick, and then we'll say our goodbyes off air.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much. I'm humbled and honored to be part of this tonight.
I thank you. I am humbled and honored that you took your time out to do this.
All good, bro.
All right. Hold on 1 second. We'll talk. All right, everybody. That wraps up run number 30 with Chief John Hayowyk from City of Passaic. Join us next week. Special Wildwood edition. See what we get into. Honestly, check out the National Fallen Firefighters Beach Bash. Check out the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. I'm going to put the links in the show notes. Get out there and get involved. Come out next week, the 12th, to the State Fire Association, State Fire Chiefs Association seminar with Chief John Yar. All right, everybody, have a good week. Stay safe.